Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Guessing the Banzuke. We just had a fantastic tournament and it's unfortunate that Midori Fuji could not keep it going, but it is amazing that Kiribayama and Daisho were the ones to get the nod here and get that Yusho and Jun Yusho in the playoff, because that means we have the chance for 2 Ozeki after May, and we could talk about that a little bit more in the future. But as for right now, we need to play Guess the Banzuke, and I know you probably won't want to take my advice, considering I did horrible in the previous Guess the Banzuke, and I literally got bottom 10 in the most recent Kachi Clash, but then again, that's what I get for picking my favorites now, isn't it? So first things first, we're going to color code our guys based on winning and losing records, except for, Teruno Fuji and Takakeisho are going to stay the same ranks that they always have been. Wakataka Kage and Whole Shoryu. Well, Whole Shoryu, we know he's going to be moving up. Kiribayama is also going to be moving up. And then, of course, Wakataka Kage, this is where we start to color code our guys. He's going to be going down. Wakamoto Haru, Kotonowaka, Daisho, these guys all going to be in the green, Tobizaru in the red. Unfortunate for my man Tobizaru. Let me just make that a little bit more red. And let me actually just go from the bottom to the top. So winning records for a lot of guys down here near the bottom of the Banzuke. We were actually a little bit worried during the middle of the tournament if we would have enough people moving down to actually have those people come up, and those people being, Asanoyama, Ichinojo. But, by the end of the tournament, we did have enough people attain those losing records, which, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, we know exactly who's going to be coming up and who's going to be moving down. And, well, there is another question at the bottom of the Banzuke, whether or not we'll have more than just Asanoyama and Ichinojo. But at the very least, we get to see who is going to be making that room for us anyway. So, usually I like to start at the top, because things like, what's going on right here are usually very easy to guess. Like, we're definitely going to have Wakamoto Haru and Daisho move up. Whether or not they're going to be Sekiwake to east or west, that's going to be really hard to call. Whole Shoryu, I don't think he's going to get leapfrogged by Kiribayama. I think Whole Shoryu is going to get that position of Sekiwake 1 East because of his 10-5 record, because Wakataka Kage is moving down. And here we can actually see Wakataka Kage will be moving down, possibly to Komusubi, possibly even lower. Tobizaru, he's going to be moving down by maybe 3 or 4 ranks. And then that also begs the question, will we have a second Komusubi slot as well? And that's usually the complicated matter here that trips up a lot of people. Like last tournament, I didn't think Tobizaru would make it back to Komusubi because he just had, a small winning record. And then he did make it back to Komusubi and completely screwed up my entire guess. So here, the most important question is, are we going to have people move up to Komusubi? And if so, how many? Because we also have to consider that there might not be that many people that could realistically move up to a Komusubi 2 slot. Because if we want to look at, other things over here, Kotonowaka, well, Wakataka Kage, maybe not Komusubi 1 East, but Kotonowaka has to move up. Shodai probably going to be our Komusubi. And then if we were to get rid of this Komusubi slot here, it would make sense that Wakataka Kage could fall with a simple 7 and 8 to Maegashira 1. Mainly because, we have Shodai 10 and 5. I don't think they would do Wakataka Kage falls only to Komusubi, considering so many people above or below him had very strong winning records. And I feel like that would make the most sense to fill out that Banzuke. So if all of these names that we just came across only in the Sanyaku, looks like we might have Wakataka Kage below. And then, of course, Shodai moving up there, Abi moving up a half of a rank, or maybe even, we move Wakataka Kage over to the other side. That might be a little bit too harsh of a demotion, so maybe we do have Abi moving up half of a rank, and then this Komusubi 2 slot just goes away. So we could actually do something like this. Komusubi 2 goes away. We have another relatively even Banzuke where we have 4 slots in Sekiwake, 2 slots at Komusubi, and then, of course, you might think it's an over-demotion for Wakataka Kage, but we could also, take a look at this Banzuke and see how many times rank Sekiwake with a 7 and 8. And if we want to look at the most recent results, we'll fall to Komusubi, 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 Komusubi. Looks like 99% of the time they're going to fall to Komusubi. Last time they fell to Maegashira 1 was Akinoshima. But I think that kind of begs the question, will we actually have something like that happen? Or will... Because the math is a little harsh on Wakataka Kage here. He has to fall because of that 7 and 8. He has to fall. But to push him down all the way to Maegashira 1, that would be, looking at it side by side, that would be 3 full ranks. On the other hand, though, there's no room for him because Wakamoto Haru and Daieisho move up out of Komusubi. Kotorawaka will move over. Shodai very much deserves Komusubi again with that 10 and 5 from Maegashira 1. And unless they keep open a Komusubi slot for Wakataka Kage, so he does only move down to that K rank, which to me that wouldn't make sense. Because part of it is also they want to keep the Banzuke even on both sides if possible. Like to have a Maegashira 17 East and not a West is usually a rare thing. In all my years of watching, I don't remember how many times I've seen it. Maybe I could count it on one hand. But actually, I could go back and check some of that out. Even sides of the Banzuke, even Maegashira 17, Maegashira 18 all the way back with Oho. Back when, we did have a very even ranks up here in the Sanyaku, but we had the single Yokozuna. That was March. And then again, just going all the way back. It's not as unlikely as I thought initially, but I feel like this is the most appropriate demotion here, because to put him at Komusubi would be too easy on him, and it would bump out someone like Shodai, unless again they opened up Komusubi 2 for Shodai. So if they did something like this instead, where we have Komusubi 2 and Shodai is down here at Komusubi 2, Wakataka Kage is over here, then maybe. But I feel like that's just... it doesn't really work that well because of the way the rest of the Banzuke is going to fall, because we also have to consider who else is going to occupy Maegashira 1, 2, and 3. Well, is Ura going to go up to Maegashira 3 after a 9 and 6? Or would it make more sense to, fill in some of these slots, have Abi at Maegashira 1, Tamawashi is going to be falling however many ranks, -9, so around Maegashira 10. Ryuden going to be falling all the way like down here. Mitakeyumi -7. Nishikigi -3. So like Nishikigi could fall maybe only a half of a rank, because we have a lot of losers down here. Like we have a lot of guys who will be falling down the Banzuke, and it is crazy to look at, because then Midori Fuji comes up and it's like, okay, 10 and 5 from Maegashira 5, he could easily slot in at Maegashira 2 here, right next to a Tobizaru with a 6 and 9. He could fall 2 ranks with a -3, that's fine. And then Maegashira 3, I guess we have, looks like Endo and Takayasu would be the guys to fall there. Sarano Umi falling down a little bit. And then from here, Uda up to Maegashira 4. That makes a little bit more sense. Nishiki Fuji also up to Maegashira 4. That makes a little bit more sense. And then, of course, we have, again, a lot of guys falling. Like Ichi Yamamoto -7. Aoyama -3. Hirado Umi maybe -1, maybe stays the same rank. It's very, very hard to say. And then I already pushed up Nishiki Fuji. Myogiryu -5. Nishiki Fuji I pushed up. Azumariu, he's falling back to Judeo. Takanosho, he only has a +1. So maybe somewhere up to Maegashira 8. Does Takanosho go up to Maegashira 5 with an 8 and 7? Because that's the other thing now, is all of these guys below, except for Keen Bozan, have 8 and 7s. So Takanosho Kageyaki might fall off the Banzuke. Takeda Fuji, another +1 from Maegashira 12. Daishoho, a +1 from Maegashira 13. Koto Eiko. Like, all of these guys don't really move up except for Keen Bozan with a +7. So that would put him up here, but he could be over promoted to Maegashira 5. Bushozan, he's falling back off the Banzuke. Hokuseiho, a +3. So Oho, maybe a -1, maybe stays the same rank. Chiyoshoma, a +3. Tsurugisho, a +1. Mitoryu, a +1. And then, of course, we have to have Asanoyama and Ichinojo. We have to have these guys get promoted upwards. But the question is, where? Do they get massive promotions up to Maegashira 5? I don't think so. But like, from where we've kind of generally placed these people, it's possible that, someone like Nishikigi from Maegashira 3 falls only down to Maegashira 5. Oops, let's actually delete. Oops, what the hell am I doing? I don't know what I'm pressing. So it is possible that we have something like this happen where, Nishikigi to Maegashira 5. Looks like the next possible promotion here is going to be Keen Bozan to Maegashira 5. And then someone like Tamawashi, like the closest losers up there, Tamawashi, Ryuden, Mitakeumi, those guys need to fall a lot in order for the Banzuke to make sense. And that's where some of the big questions come in now, is what the hell do we do with these guys? Do we give Hokuseiho, who got a 9 and 6 from Maegashira 15, like a +10 to his rank all the way up to Maegashira 6? I don't think so. I think it would be more likely that, Takanosho and Takeda Fuji were to get a massive over promotion, which again, that's something that we can look at, looking at the query over here. So Takanosho was M11 and an 8 and 7 record. So let's take a look at the highest rank anyone has ever achieved with that. Oginohama all the way up to Maegashira 2, and then Aogiyama up to Maegashira 2. So that must have been insane. Maegashira 4, 5, 6, it doesn't look like it's way out of the wheelhouse, but all of those results happened in, the 70s, 80s, 90s, the most recent obviously being Takanosho, but there's no result within the past 2 or 20 years comparable. Chionokuni from 2017, Maegashira 7, so maybe Takanosho does get that wild over promotion. Kitsuumi to Maegashira 6 on an 8 and 7. And, there's just so many of these results that I guess generally any of them could work. So Takanosho probably does get Maegashira 6. And then we could do the same thing with like Takeda Fuji. Takeda Fuji was Maegashira 12 with an 8 and 7. Takeda Fuji, please, Banzuke, please don't be down. But I'm sure it's the same thing. Takeda Fuji could get the nod up to Maegashira 6 with that, Yep, it is down. Of course, during the time I'm filming the video, isn't it? But I guess, a lot of this too is I've started approaching the Banzuke from less math and precedent and more how it would feel. And I feel like that is also not a bad way to go about it, because we've heard from the people who make the Banzuke, the Shimpan, the Gyoji, whoever else contribute to it, that the Banzuke is a living thing, that precedent doesn't really matter, and that, you know, a lot of it is just based on what feels good. So I think in this situation here, we can take a look at, you know, Koto Shoho again. He has a 6 and 9 from Maegashira 5. You know, there's going to be a weird traffic jam here in the middle of the ranks. He could definitely fall right here. Takeda Fuji, I don't know if he comes to Maegashira 6, but Tamawashi, you know, he's good. I don't think he would only fall to Maegashira 6 or maybe 7, but you know, it's just a matter of it's difficult to say. Like, even Koto Shoho could fall simply a half of a rank, technically a half of a rank right here, a rank and a half on paper. So Koto Shoho falling from Maegashira 5 east to Maegashira 6 west off of a 6 and 9, that doesn't seem too far out of the wheelhouse, you know? That does not seem like a bad idea. And then, of course, in Maegashira 7, we could have someone like Hokuto Fuji stay at the same rank. Did I even put Hokuto Fuji anywhere? It looks like I accidentally skipped him. But like Hokuto Fuji, he could stay the same rank with a 7 and 8. Or maybe I'm even over promoting Takanosho here. I could put him over on the west side. You know, it's all very difficult to say because there are so many wildly huge rank and, you know, math disparities here that, you know, technically if we were to keep Hokuto Fuji, Maegashira 7 with his 7 and 8, then technically he scoots up the Banzuke because of the Komusubi rank disappearing there. So it's complicated, to say the least. Very complicated. Could this happen? Easily. I think so. Will it happen? I'm not too sure. But from what we have so far, I think my only big question mark is going to be Takanosho right there. Because then we could have, you know, someone like... this is probably where we could put Tamawashi here falling to Maegashira 7, you know, because we've seen it before where they are quite lenient on guys who are losers from the very top of the Banzuke. They usually don't crash them all the way down to those, you know, super low ranks. So maybe they put Tamawashi here, but then why over promote Takanosho when Takeda Fuji had an 8 and 7 from, you know, one rank lower? Why the disparity there? Well, because, you know, we got to put these losers somewhere that makes a little bit more sense. Like, we could have Takeda Fuji here at Maegashira 7, or maybe we could even scoot down Hokuto Fuji a half of a rank. But again, it's all just really hard to say. It's all just a crapshoot. We don't actually know how things are going to fall. Are they going to give Asanoyama like one of the biggest... Like, put them all the way up here at Maegashira 8, like, we don't know, you know? And unless we can get the database up again so we can actually ask them about that, then we're going to have to play the guessing game, and that's really all this is about, isn't it? So, coming back to what we have here, how things are going to fill out, really. Meisei falling, you know, 4 ranks off of a 5 and 10. That seems to make sense. Sadano Umi falling, you know, maybe 2.5 ranks. Maybe even Meisei comes down here. Sadano Umi right here. Sadano Umi falling 2 ranks from a 6 and 9. Meisei falling 4.5 with that -5. Seems to make the most sense. Ryuden probably not going to go all the way down here to Maegashira 14. Probably going to be closer to this Maegashira 11 slot, to which we can have... let's see, who do we have with these winning records? Daishoho, Kotoeko. Yeah, we could probably have Daishoho. Oops. And Kotoeko slot in right here. But then Mitakeyumi with a 4 and 11 from Maegashira 3. There's no way he actually falls all the way down this way. So what we could do is probably scoot him in up here. Kotoeko and Daishoho with their 8 and 7s from the same rank move up together. Meisei, I don't think I want to make him move down even further than I already have. So maybe it's Tamawashi that gets a little bit of a harsher demotion because he did have that 3 and 12. Although Mitakeumi with one more win, do we really think he's going to get leapfrogged downwards by Tamawashi? That's hard to say too, because again, generally they are kinder to the guys like Komusubi, Maegashira 1, 2, 3. So maybe it's possible that Tamawashi and Mitakeumi find themselves at the same rank, and Tamawashi Sadano Umi falls down to Maegashira 9. But then again, that seems a little too harsh. So maybe Takeda Fuji doesn't get pushed all the way up here. Or maybe it's Takanosho that doesn't get pushed all the way up here, and now we have to find the spot for Koto Shoujo, but we can't put Hokuto Fuji up there because then he'd be moving up the Banzuke, which he can't do because he had a losing record. So it does get annoyingly complicated here. It's Koto Shoujo with it at 6 and 9 from Maegashira 5. Moving down one rank is entirely natural, but we also have to consider the lost Komusubi slot, so he's technically not moving down any ranks. But that's not something that I even know what the math would be behind that like. So I think Koto Shoujo does need to move down. Maybe Tamawashi is up here, but to only move down 4 or 5 ranks from a -7, that doesn't seem too punishing, you know? And Mitakeumi falling even further than that. Maybe it's Hokuto actually, you know what? Maybe it's something like this. Maybe it's Hokuto Fuji scoots over, Mitakeumi right here, Takanosho down here. That way, Hokuto Fuji does at least move down half of a rank. Tamawashi and Mitakeumi do have, they do fall down the Banzuke. Maybe not nearly as far as they should be falling, but because of this massive gap, I feel like the committee will be more lenient towards Tamawashi and Mitakeumi than they will be ready to over-promote Takanosho and Takeda Fuji. So this seems like it fits out quite well right now. Then we have the question of Hirado Umi with his own 7 and 8 from Maegashira 9. I think we already have Sadano Umi falling a little bit more than he probably will. So it's likely that we even have something like this. Like there's so many possible coin flips that can be going on here that it's really hard to say what it's really hard to say what could befall these people. Like, even, you know what, this might make sense too. Meisei only falling 4 ranks with his 5 and 10. Takanosho and Takeda Fuji moving up to Maegashira 9 off of an 8 and 7. That seems the most appropriate, right? And then Hirado Umi could fall maybe a half of a rank. And then, this traffic jam down here, though, where we have Onosho, who had a 4 and 11 from Maegashira 4. Maybe he falls a little bit further. Probably do something like this, where we break up Daishoho and Kotoeko, slot in Hirado Umi right there. And now we have a little bit of a traffic jam right here. We do have to consider, too, that with that this blank spot now being filled in, we do have Maegashira 17 East. So let's try to work from the bottom now, or Maegashira 17 West. So we can kind of work from the bottom here. Kageaki, Oho falls down. Maybe even it's Myogiryu Myogiryu, I don't think he's going to fall down that far. Same thing with Ichi Yamamoto. I feel like these guys aren't going to be falling down as far as I, have them, because it's very rare that, -7 actually means they fall down 7+ ranks. It all largely depends too. But now we really have some trouble up here. Like, do Asanoyama and Ichinojo only move up like 3 ranks with their huge double-digit scores? Does Tsurugisho get screwed, moving up a half of a rank with an 8 and 7 from the bottom of the Banzuke? Hokuseiho, Kotoeko, Ryuden, Ryuden, I feel like, is already being punished massively here. So, like, maybe even we do something like this, where LeoDSumo and Ryuden find themselves at Maegashira 10. And now this is where people probably get under promoted or over demoted. Because, I mean, this entire Banzuke has been really difficult to call. And a lot of it does really just come down to who is going to get over promoted and who is going to get over demoted. So, okay, we still don't have the Banzuke query. Thank you very much. But, like, even from here, Daishoho and Kotoeko, 8 and 7s from Maegashira 13, to move them up to Maegashira 11 seems very appropriate. Aoyama moving down from Maegashira 9 to 12 with that -3 seems a little harsh, but that could very well be possible. Onosho falling down here as well makes it a difficult call here too, because Onosho, Maegashira 4, 4 and 11, -7 down to maybe Maegashira 11. Maybe I am, this is where you really have to flip the coin on, is the loser going to get over demoted or is the winner going to get over promoted? And I don't want to put like Daishoho and Kotoeko to like only rise one rank with their 8 and 7s, because we still have to slot in Hokuseiho and Chiyoshoma somewhere. Hokuseiho with his 9 and 6, Chiyoshoma with his 9 and 6 as well. Do Onosho and Aoyama get over demoted? I'm not sure. Do I already have Takanosho and Takadafuji being over promoted here? Possibly. LeoDSumo and Ryuden. Let's see, where's LeoDSumo? 7 and 8 from Maegashira 9. Ryuden, like maybe something like this where Ryuden doesn't actually fall that far, but that doesn't really help because now I'm just scooching these guys over. Maybe Onosho and Aoyama find themselves here. And then this is where we start to fill out Takanosho, Takadafuji, Hokuseiho. Well, no, we have to move down these guys. I'm just scooching them down here for now. So this is probably where we put Takanosho, Takadafuji, Hokuseiho, and Chiyoshoma. But no, we can't do that because Daishoho and Kotoeko need to move up. So something like this, but then Hokuseiho and Chiyoshoma only move up like 2 ranks for a +3. You know, that's not too terrible, but that's mostly because I don't want to over demote Aoyama and Onosho. So now these guys, Hokuseiho and Chiyoshoma, are getting punished for it. Ichiyamamoto might actually take the biggest fall here. And then we also have to consider something like, you know, Ichinojo and Asanoyama not getting the nod now and moving up even further because of, you know, what's going on the rest of the Banzuke. Like, there's massive, strange traffic jams everywhere, and it's really hard to pinpoint. And like I said, a lot of this is just coin flip after coin flip. Is Tamawashi gonna get, is he gonna, you know, have it a little bit easier? Is Mitakayumi gonna have it a little bit easier? Is Hokutofuji going to, you know, fall a half of a rank or maybe even a full rank to save someone else? Like, it's, does Takanosho get over promoted to scoot down a lot of people? Because, you know, earlier in this video I had Takanosho move up to like Maegashira 6, but now I only have him moving up a half of a rank. But you also have to consider, again, because of the lack of a second Komusubi slot, looking at it side by side, technically, you know, he is moving up more than just 1/2 of a rank. But I'm not I've been watching sumo for sure like 3.5 years, and I'm still not very familiar with how they deal with this kind of thing. Because even just going back through some of my other guesses, I want to try to find an example of where they do remove that extra slot. My predictions and then the actual guesses. Like, let me see if this one. Let's see. I predicted Abi with an 0-15 to move down to 10. He fell to 9. And they were not near each other side by side, so that doesn't really help. Like this looks like a complicated Banzuke, right? Because they have the open Sekiwake, the open Komusubi slots, where I predicted, something more along the lines of 1 Sekiwake, 4 Komusubi. And so what happens here is Daisho, I just don't know. I don't even know how to interpret the Banzuke at this point, but at this point, I feel like this is probably going to be the best guesses we have. Maybe even Kageaki on this side, but at this point, we're just splitting hairs. And then massively under promoting Asanoyama and Ichinojo. But then maybe even, Aoyama and Takanosho could switch spots like this. That way Takanosho does have a more appropriate move up the Banzuke. It's just so complicated, but that's kind of what makes it fun, right? Is how interesting things can really be when it comes down to, I've never sat in their meeting room how they make the Banzuke, and I probably never will. I don't know any firsthand documents. If there is some firsthand sources on, what they do when they make these Banzukes, I'd love to read it. But from what I know, it's just the Banzuke is a living thing. Anything can happen. And I feel like a lot of this complication comes in from whether or not they have a Komusubi 3 for Wakataka Kage, or if they don't have that. Because then, if they do, or not Komusubi 3, Komusubi 2 for Wakataka Kage. Because then, if they do have that, if we do Komusubi 2, if they do have that, you scoot over everyone a half of a rank up, half of a rank over, half of a rank up, that kind of thing. And it looks like it might make a little bit more sense. We were to do something like this. Let's take a quick look through it. So Tamawashi 3 and 12 falls to Maegashira 5. It's very forgiving. Mitakeumi falling to Maegashira 6 after a 4 and 11 from Maegashira 3. Very forgiving. Hokuto Fuji stays the same rank, 7 and 8. Abi and Midori Fuji, Maegashira 1. Makes sense. Shodai Komusubi. Endo and Tobizaru, Maegashira 2. Makes sense. Takeyasu and Uda, Maegashira 3, makes sense. Nishiki Fuji and Keen Bozan, Maegashira 4. Over promotion for Keen Bozan, but really the only people that they can fit there. Ryu Den falling to Maegashira 8. So maybe this does make a little bit more sense. Do they keep open that Komusubi 2 slot for Wakataka Kage with that 7 and 8? Or do they close it up? Because this feels better. Koto Shoho falls 1 rank after 6 and 9. Sarano Umi falls, a rank and a half after his 6 and 9. Meisei falls 3 ranks after 5 and 10. Onosho falls 5 ranks after a 4 and 11. Aoyama falls a rank and a half. Takanosho and Takeda Fuji go up a rank and a half. Daishoho and Koto Eiko go up a rank and a half. Hokuseiho goes up 2.5 ranks. So I think this feels better. And of course, there is the big question of where Asanoyama and Ichinojo will go. But even looking at this, Myogiryu falls just straight 4 ranks. Ichiyamamoto falls. Maybe his fall is a little too harsh. Now, see, now that I've done this, I feel like I have a different perspective on how the Banzuke may fall. Ichiyamamoto maybe falls only here. And we have Tsurugisho going up 2 ranks off of an 8 and 7. That's very fair. Mitoryu going up a rank and a half off of an 8 and 7. That's very fair. Chiyoshoma going up straight up 3 ranks off of a 9 and 6. That's very fair. So I feel like this did help to put it in a little bit more perspective. And I feel like this feels a lot better. And of course, because this is the same week that the tournament ended, there aren't that many other people who have their Banzuke guesses. And I feel like as far as the LeoDSumo Discord server that I am also in, I look like I'm probably the first one to actually have guesses out there. So definitely gonna be a pioneer in how other people might do their Banzuke. And again, now that I've actually taking a look at it with Wakataka Kage at Komusubi 2, this just feels more natural. Maybe it's not Komusubi 2 East, but they have him on the west side, because he did have that losing record, and because it would make both sides of the Banzuke have the same number of people on it. But yeah, this feels better. And again, I know that's not really, anything for precedent or anything for, what may have happened in the past, but now that I'm looking at what I have here instead of what I had previously, this just feels better. Hokuto Fuji staying at the same rank with a 7 and 8. I feel like that's the anchor of what's going on in these middle ranks. Like, of course, Hokuto Fuji can fall, and maybe he and Meisei switch places, or maybe Saranoumi is actually up where Hokuto Fuji is, with Hokuto Fuji moving over and Meisei falling another half of a rank. But at that point, again, we're just really splitting hairs, because there was, you saw at the beginning of this video, there was a big traffic jam in this middle section, and very difficult to actually put people in different places. But now that I did keep that second Komusubi slot open, I feel like this is probably the best we're going to have. Tobizaru moving down a rank and a half to make room for Abi, who goes up a full rank, Midori Fuji, who goes up 5 full ranks. Again, this just feels better. Hirado Umi as another example. Actually, that one needs to be changed. Hirado Umi needs to be moved back over to the other side. So now that even looks better for Onosho, who only falls 5 ranks off of a 4 and 11, which makes a little bit more sense. Ryuden falls, let's see, he falls 6 ranks off of a 12 and 3. So maybe we even do something like this. Ryuden falling to Maegashira 9. Onosho getting saved a little bit more. 4.5 ranks for 4 and 11. Again, splitting hairs on that. But other than that, Saranoumi, his fall seems appropriate. Meisei, his fall seems appropriate. Aoyama, a rank and a half for a 6 and 9, seems appropriate. And everything else around this feels good. Maybe the Onosho Ryuden coin flip will matter. But in the end, I feel like this is probably a very solid Banzuke call. And, let me know in the comments down below what your Banzuke is going to be like. If you find yourselves looking for more information, be sure to join the LeoDSumo Discord server. If you look for LeoDSumo here on YouTube, then he should have his Discord server linked. Or if you look on Twitter, he should have his Discord server linked. There's a lot of sumo discussion going on there 24/7. It's a very nice place to be. And of course, you could always find me there as well to get my opinions on something like this, like the Guess the Banzuke. Be sure to keep on tuning in for the rest of the next few weeks for more content between Basho. We have a lot more guys with their all 15 days videos, and we will be getting out the Kiribayama and Daieisho breakdowns, as well as the Wakamoto Haru and Keen Bozan breakdowns if I can get to them. and those will be released every Saturday. I'm going to try to release that unique content every week, and then by the time we're done with that, it's already going to be time for the next Basho. And like I mentioned earlier, and I didn't really touch on it more so afterwards, but Kiribayama and Daisho are currently on an Ozeki push, and it has been confirmed by Hakaku chairman. If Kiribayama gets 10 wins, he's in. If Kiribayama gets 10 wins, hey, now the database wants to work. Cool, only after I'm done. But yeah, if he gets 10 wins, that'll be the 33-3, and he will make it to Ozeki, as well as Daisho. If he were to get 11 wins, then he would make it as well, and it's just that cut and dried. We could have the rise of 2 new Ozeki by July. But, of course, they are going to have to contend with Terunofuji, who will be returning from that knee surgery recovery. And, well, May Banzuke, May Basho should be a wild one. It has been 40 minutes since I've started this video. I hope you found this Guess the Banzuke very well. Let me just double check. Anything at the bottom here? I don't think there's going to be any more demotions out of this top division. Kageaki and Oho get saved by the skin of their teeth. Bushozan and Azumariu go down. Myogiryu. Yeah, no, I think Asanoyama and Ichinojo are going to be fine where they are. Maybe not in this spot exactly, but Shonan no Umi is not going to make it up. Roga, Enho, Gonoyama even, they're not going to make it up, but the top of that Judio ranks should be a lot of fun. That is going to be it from me, and this is probably going to be my final Guess the Banzuke. So, hopefully you don't copy me 1-for-1 and get 0 points, because I know that that's something that's probably going to happen. So thank you very much for watching. I will catch you cats later.